Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. In today's race, I'd like to go back one day. I'd like to go back into the European Championships and cover the race and specifically some of the quotes and the interviews that were said before the European Championships, all the way back and up to the finish of the Men's Road World Championships, and what was said afterwards. Now, if I take you back into the Road World Championships, so we go just past a week ago, call it 8 days, and we see Florian Vermeersch, the Belgian rider, riding for Remco Evenepoel at the Men's Road World Championships. He said afterwards that Remco Evenepoel was the equal of Tadej Pogačar. Now, I got this sent over to me, the quote anyway, sent over from my home scale, DEE, and I said, equal? I said, equal is a little bit of a strong word. I don't know if we can use equal for that word to compare Remco Evenepoel to Tadej Pogačar from the Men's Road World Championships. Now, you can look at that Road World Championships and you can say, well, Remco Evenepoel had 2 bike changes. He lost 40 seconds. He's a minute and 40 seconds down on Tadej Pogačar. That was up the road. That had some help from Isaac Del Toro. They're UAE Team Emirate riders, right? One's Mexico rider. One, of course, is Slovenian rider, but they both ride for UAE Team Emirates. So Mexico and Slovenia got a little bit of love combo going there because they ride for the same team. So Isaac Del Toro, as I told you guys on the butterfly effect, went a little bit deeper than he should have and maybe wasn't exactly riding for Mexico, maybe was riding more for Tadej Pogačar and UAE Team Emirates there at the Men's Road World Championships. But anyway, we go back into the quote. Equal was the quote Florian Vermeersch used when he's describing Remco Evenepoel's ride. I said, no, I think equal is a little bit too strong. Getting closer to, looking good, putting on a show. There's lots of descriptions you can use to describe Remco Evenepoel's ride at the Road World Championships. Incredibly entertaining. I love that description. Number 2 best rider in the world for the Men's Road World Championships. Sure, he was better than Primož Roglič, who I have as my normal number 2 of my top 6 first page riders. But there's no doubt Remco Evenepoel was better than Primož Roglič at the Men's Road World Championships. But when you do the math and you start thinking about it, Remco Evenepoel got the drop at 104 kilometers ago when Tadej Pogačar was lighting up that climb. When they were out there in the suburbs and Tadej was lighting everyone up, dropping. Ayuso was suffering on his wheel. Later dropped him after the descent. Isaac Del Toro had the bridge to him on the descent. But Remco Evenepoel got to back off the throttle because he had a little saddle problem, right? His saddle was dropping, he was telling everyone, so he's backing off the throttle. So Pogi's going hard for 500 meters. Remco Evenepoel's dropping off the back at the top of that summit with just under 104 kilometers ago. Pogi's driving down the descent, chasing after Juan Ayuso, who gets dropped on the next bump. And then Pogi's in the wind throughout the rest of the next 25, 30 kilometers when Remco Evenepoel was at the back with what? He was at the back with Louis Vervaeke, okay? He was back there with Quinten Hermans. He had 2 teammates riding the front. So, of course, his legs felt a little bit better after his 2 bike changes. That Quinten Hermans pulls him back onto that front group, and he can start pulling and gain a little bit more time back on Tadej Pogačar. Gain back to 30 seconds or 40 that he lost in the bike change, but he couldn't really bring it under a minute, right? And after that, he still had help back there. He still had Skilmos back there. He still had Ben Healy back there. He still had help coming through. Okay, he's doing 80% of the work. You heard me say that on the Butterfly Effect live after that race. 80% Remco Evenepoel to everyone else is maybe 10 or 5 and 7.5% back there. Remco was putting on a show, no doubt about it. But Pogi was putting on the real show up there because going solo is what it really takes, pure power. When you look at that course at 270 kilometers at the Men's Road World Championships, and he's solo sitting talking about 65 kilometers ago, but he was clearly pulling more than Isaac Del Toro. He clearly didn't have much help from Ayuso up there until he got dropped early, and Remco Evenepoel had teammates back there. So, of course, they're not equal. Okay, so that was a ridiculous quote from the Belgian rider Florian Vermeersch after the Road World Championships. Closer, looking good, strong, I'm all good with. Then we come into the Euro Championships. Before this, we know that we're going to start missing some riders because you have Primož Roglič that's going over Giro d'Emilia. Tom Pidcock's going over Giro d'Emilia. They got to find racers over there as Isaac Del Toro won that race. So there's some guys missing at the Euro Championships, but we got a new player coming into the ballpark. We got Jonas Vingegaard. We're talking about 2-time Tour de France winner, second the last 2 seasons at the Tour de France to Tadej Pogačar that started the Euro Championships. And the big hype was Remco Evenepoel, Tadej Pogačar, Jonas Vingegaard, the 3-way battle. Well, Jonas says the three-way battle's up to him. I saw that quote. I was like, up to you? I don't know if it's up to you, but yeah, you have to be a player. There's no doubt about that. And he says it's up to him and whether or not if he's got the form. When you read the quote a little bit closer, you just realize that he doesn't exactly know where his form is, but he says it could be there. We go into the men's European Championships. I want to cover that briefly now. And we know that Belgium rode the same tactics that they did at the Road World Championships. They rode aggressively at the start. 3 riders go up the road. Vasek is in this move. He's the strong rider. Dan Uhl, little Trek rider that's riding for the Netherlands up there. He's in this move. 3 riders going up the move. Belgium's not happy. They're still attacking back there, left, right, center. They're wasting bullets in their legs the whole time. Then we see 15-rider group go. They come into the circuit. They got 6 laps. 6 laps to do on the circuit. 3 have the bigger climb. The last 3 laps have the smaller climb. The big climb 7K at over 7%. The smaller climb is going to be just under 2. I'll call it 1.6, 1.7, but this one's a monster at 9.3, 9.5%, something in that ballpark. So 3 laps have the short, steep climb. The big first 3 circuits have the long climb on there. So what does that mean? That means if you're coming into this race and you hit this long climb, if Tadej Pogačar is the best in the world and not equal to Remco Evenepoel, but actually better, and you believe that, that's what I believe, then you don't want Tadej Pogačar to be able to gain a ton of time on you on this big climb. But the big climb's 70 kilometers from the finish line. So I take you back into one of the other interviews. Let's go into Serge Pauwels. Serge Pauwels is the new director sportif for the Belgium team. Remember the old director sportif, Sven van Horenthal? Now remember the Belgian Road World Championships in Leuven? That was his master plan there. They blew everything up, has no idea what was going on. They all blamed it on Remco Evenepoel. They threw Remco Evenepoel under the bus at the 21 Men's Belgium Road World Championships, and all the Belgium fans were left disappointed because this is the strongest team Belgium's ever had at the Road World Championships, and they lost in dramatic style, and then threw it all on the shoulders of Remco Evenepoel. And I told you guys, on the Butterfly Effect, on Beyond the Coverage multiple times, it was not Remco Evenepoel's fault. He was doing what their director sportif, Sven, had told him to do. Now, if I'm the national selection team there for Belgium and I hired Sven, I'd try to fire him any possible way I possibly could after watching that Belgian Road World Championships. But the Belgium kid, Remco Evenepoel, wins himself Road World Championships in Australia afterwards. But they don't realize he won because France was pulling with him. Because we know that Astana right up there, Lusenko was pulling deep there with Remco Evenepoel. He soloed Australia, won the rainbow band jersey for the Road World Championships. So that probably puts Fem back into a little bit of greener light, but the Belgium national teams, of course, Belgium National Federation, of course, still remembers Leuven's, right? How can we forget that? It was an amazing race. So eventually he gets replaced. We got Serge Pauwels coming in. Serge Pauwels does the interview, and he says, well, this is not 270-kilometer race like the Road World Championships. This is a 200-kilometer race, so Pogi's not going to be able to go from far out. Tadej Pogačar will not be able to go from far out, is what Serge Pauwels, the new director sportif for Belgium, at his second race, Men's Road World Championships, 8 days ago, they rode full gas on the front all the time for Slovenia when they didn't have to. It was a knucklehead move, there's no doubt about it. So now Serge Pauwels is giving this interview that Tadej Pogačar won't be able to go far out because Remco Evenepoel, he believes, is going to be able to match him, and it's a short race. Okay, let's find out. So, Belgium's over-aggressive, like I told you guys. 15-rider group goes up the road. They cross the finish line with 6 laps to go. Louis Vervaeke, Belgium's in that front roof, right? They go up the first climb, the 7-kilometer climb. We see guys getting dropped off the back. They lose 4. Eventually, these guys will bridge up. What's left with Louis Vervaeke driving it on the front. Tons of time up the climb. He's on the front a lot, right? Belgium team up there on the front riding a lot. Extra motivation riding the front. Gets up there, closes the gap to the 3 riders up there that had Vasek in there and Dan Uhl, 2 riders from the Netherlands. I forget the second rider, Matthias, I believe it was. He's up there, the 3rd rider. So they come together, we'll call it 12, 13 riders at this front group. Now they got about a 2-minute gap on Slovenia back there chasing. They're coming around for the 2nd lap. So it's 5 laps to go. And Belgium starts putting their second plan into work. They start throwing attacks up this climb. On the steep climb, you don't attack Tadej Pogačar on the steep climb. It's a no-no. It doesn't hurt his legs. They're trying to isolate the Slovenian team and get them off the front, but they've done so much work to their legs in the first half of the race trying to be aggressive, putting riders in the break, that how much legs could they possibly have left? And when they started this race, Belgium it's not like they have a ton of climbers. Slovenia really only have one climber, Domian Novak, and of course Tadej Pogačar, but one climber not named Tadej Pogačar. Domian Novak and Matej Mohoric, he's not a climber. He's not been on fantastic form throughout this 25 season, but he's a quality rider. There's no doubt about that. Not a quality climber, but a quality rider, for sure. Quality through and through. So they go up the climb. Domian Novak controls the first attacks that are coming again from Quick-Step back there. Sorry, Quick-Step from Belgium, excuse me. So as they're covering the moves from Belgium with Domian Novak, he's looking over, he's checking out the French rider there, Sivakov. As he comes through the front, he starts setting some tempo. Then we start getting in the next climbs with about 104 kilometers to go. After Belgium's been throwing in some attacks, we see Remco Evenepoel throwing an attack. Oh man, this is a bad move. This is a very bad move. Sure, you're on the offensive, you're not on the defense, but a lot of people think sitting on the wheel is actually defense, and really it's proactive is what I like to think about. If you're sitting on the wheel, you're saving energy. So Tadej Pogačar, who's sitting on Remco Evenepoel at this moment, as they're coming down the descents, and Remco Evenepoel's drilling in at the front, he's lighting it all up. He's bringing the original break back as Louis Vervaeke up there, and Slovenia hasn't done anything, but Remco's driving it on the front while Tadej Pogačar is proactive. Not offense, not defense, but proactive back there, sitting on the wheel of Remco Evenepoel. Remco Evenepoel's up there, finally comes back together. They haven't quite caught the break yet. We'll come into about 92 kilometers to go, thereabouts. Matej Mohoric's been riding the front for a little bit. He blows up with the attacks from Italy. I like this attack right here from Italy because Matej Mohoric is the last rider here for Tadej Pogačar. They're on the climb, which I don't like attacking Tadej Pogačar on the climb, but if you're Alberto Bettiol and you're attacking on the climb at this moment, I like this because, well, Tadej Pogačar shouldn't be worried about you. So if we see his attack and you get a gap right away, then I like this move. If you're going to pull Tadej Pogačar, I don't. We see Tadej's following the move. Remco Evenepoel's in the move, so he backs up the throttle. Then we see what? We see the Swiss rider Jan Christian throw an attack. This was a knucklehead move right here because Pogie's directly on it. If Pogie wasn't on your wheel, I like this move, but you have to be directly knowledgeable of where Tadej Pogačar is. And Jan Christian's got to know that Tadej's on his wheel along with Remco Evenepoel. So this is a knucklehead move as he's splitting the group up to a smaller and smaller group. And then we see what happens. Remco Evenepoel goes to the front. Jan Christian gets dropped. Should have been pulling on the front to begin with. Remco's drilling at Tadej Pogačar sitting on his wheel, right? We see Paul Sextus there, the French team. He's doing a good job. But he's going to be struggling a bit, but they're going to stay on the wheel. They're going to go over the top with Paul Sextus, Remco Evenepoel, Tadej Pogačar there with Remco pulling like crazy. He's going to pull the brake back. The brake that started at the beginning of this race that Belgium was getting so interested in being in, that they had Louis Vervaeke up there has been pulling on the front. Now Remco pulls this group back and they're all together with 90 kilometers to go. And Pogie hasn't had to touch the front at all throughout this race. Okay, so this happens. Then Belgium gets on the front. Now they got Pogie isolated. Isolated is fantastic, but isolation without attacking means absolutely nothing. And Tadej Pogačar has not touched the wind, and Remco Evenepoel's been in the front for what I think is safe to call 100% safe for at least 8K, but possibly 10K, where Pogie hasn't touched the front throughout this race, with the exception of one small rotation on the front at around, now we'll call it just under 90 kilometers to go. And we see one Czech rider come to the front. We see that Czech rider is having a talk. That's Martin. Martin's having a talk with Remco Evenepoel. Martin and Remco happen to be teammates for Pseudo Quick-Step. So the Czech rider doesn't want to ride for a Czech, so he wants to ride for his Belgian teammate for Pseudo Quick-Step. So Remco gives him the nod to hop on the front. Now they come across the finish line, and we see 4 riders that are all part of Remco Evenepoel. Martin is up there. We see that Louis Vervaeke's up there. Remember, Louis Vervaeke's been in the break the whole time. The next rider we see up there is going to be Stef Cross. Stef Cross is pulling on the front. Then we see Remco Evenepoel followed by Tadej Pogačar. So 4 riders there counting Remco Evenepoel. And whoa, there's a 5th. We look at the back. That's Ties Benoot. Ties Benoot had some funny quotes afterwards too, but I'll get into that possibly later if I remember correct. If I remember to do it. We go up front. Belgium start right when they hit the climb again. They go up the climb. This is the last time up the 7-kilometer climb. Belgium driving it on the front. We see Martin, the Czech rider there. He gets dropped coming off the back. Louis Vervaeke still on the front. Steph Cross is there. Thies Benoot, Visma Lease's bike normally, but not a teammate of Pseudo Quickstep, Remco Evenepoel, but he's Belgian rider, so he's up there at the front too. And then Tadej Pogačar lights everyone up. As he starts his attack, we see Ayuso. Ayuso's following from Spain. He's directly on the wheel. Remco Evenepoel sitting third position. The Belgian rider doesn't like third. Wise move. Moves out. Moves up in second. Gets on Tadej Pogačar's wheel. And the Slovenian accelerates again. Ayuso's getting dropped. Now we see Paul Sextus back there. Ayuso just behind him. Remco Evenepoel still holding on the wheel. Tadej Pogačar. And then Pogi throws in another acceleration. Remco Evenepoel moves over to the right. And we see him look back over his shoulder. Belgian kid's getting dropped right now. You've been pulling for 8, 10 kilometers on the front. You put your teammates on the front to drill it, make it as hard as you possibly can. Every moment of the race, you make it harder, does what? The best rider in the world stays higher level. His legs stay fresher and fresher and fresher. Unless he's made a calorie miscount, unless I bring you in the 22 Tour de France, Stage 11, Col de Grenon, where Tadej Pogačar has 1 Coke, 1 Snickers, maybe 1 ketone away from being able to win the 22 Tour de France. Instead, he bonked. So if he doesn't make that kind of mistake, and you've been pulling around the whole time, the #1 ranked rider in the world, the #2 ranked rider in the world, and the pace has been going as hard as Belgium can make it, that's always going to benefit Tadej Pogačar. Now you're coming into a 7-kilometer climb, and Remco Evenepoel's looking over his shoulder because he knows he's blowing up. Tadej Pogačar's going solo. Paul Sextus bridges back up there too. Remco Evenepoel. And eventually, after we go a few hundred meters, a couple K later, we see Ayuso comes back on. Scaroni comes back on. We got 4 riders chasing 1. We drop down the descent. Tadej Pogačar's holding the lead. Goes into the next small climb, but super stick. We're talking about 9%, just over a K1/2. Pogi doesn't lose much time there. Lost maybe about 5, 7 seconds through the valley. Then gains it back going over this climb. They come around the finish line again with 3 laps to go. This is the shorter laps now. We're talking about 17 kilometers. Tadej Pogačar is drilling. Remco Evenepoel can't do anything. Even when he had a little bit of help back there, it's not bringing back time. So Tadej Pogačar solos the Euro Road Race Championships to grab himself another special jersey, but he's already wearing the rainbow jersey, so he's just going to have to hang that one on his wall like I got. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to put it on because you're wearing a rainbow band jersey, maybe for a week next year, depending on the calendar rotation. I don't know. But right now, Tadej Pogačar wins. Remco Evenepoel passes through the line. He's 30 seconds back. Afterwards, in his interview, he says, well, he lost to a better man. More powerful man, for sure. There's no doubt about that. That's why he's #1 ranked rider in the world. Are you equal to Tadej Pogačar? Like Florian Vermeersch said, you are absolutely not equal, so you have to race smarter. But you race the exact same tactics. We go into your teammates' words when I look at Vermeersch's comments where he said, tell me what we could do differently to be able to beat Tadej Pogačar. I could tell you for sure what you don't want to do. You don't want to race like you did at the Road World Championships last week, Serge Pals putting the Belgian team on the front, driving it for Slovenia. You don't want to come into European Championships doing the same thing, riding the front for Tadej Pogačar throughout the hardest sections of the race. When you get him isolated, you have to attack him. It's honestly not even such a bad plan if you go up the climb and you dropped all of Slovenia and then you started attacking them left, right, and center. That's okay. But if you're going to drive it into the final big time up the climb, with just over 75 kilometers to go, we'll call it like 77. If you're going to drive it into that, and Vervaake's done, Thies Benoot hasn't been that impressive at the Euro Championships. And then we look at the front, Steph Cross. Well, he's probably not a pure climber either, so you already dropped Billy Lesurf back there and all of your other teammates. Nothing's going to happen, so Remco Evenepoel is basically just one-on-one against Tadej Pogačar. You don't want one-on-one. So if you want somebody to explain it to you differently, Louis Vervaeke, I'm explaining it to you differently. Almost every race you could do against Tadej Pogačar, I've explained it to you differently. But if the most simple thing you want to do is, first off, being on offense with Tadej Pogačar, pulling Tadej Pogačar around, that's a no-no. Being on the front at the Road World Championships as the whole Belgium team's pulling Slovenia around, that's a no-no. You cannot waste your energy. You have to keep your teammates as fresh as you possibly can. You have to hope and pray that Tadej Pogačar attacks from 100 kilometers out, like we just saw last week. You have to hope and pray that he attacks from 75 kilometers out, as we just saw yesterday. And then you have to have fresh teammates' legs wrapped around Remco Evenepoel so that they can pull him for not 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers, but for 25, 30, 40, 50, 60 kilometers. And then you have to launch Remco Evenepoel very, very close to the back wheel of Tadej Pogačar. We're talking about 20, 30 seconds. And hopefully, because Tadej's been up there for 70 and Remco Evenepoel's never touched the front before Tadej Pogačar has. So has not ridden the front at 104 kilometers ago. Has not ridden the front at 92 kilometers ago like we just witnessed yesterday and wore his legs out and then try to go pull for pull with Tadej Pogačar. He's going to drop you every time unless, of course, he's forgotten to eat or he's made a miscalculation with calories or he had to take too many nature breaks and had to work too much on the front to get to the back of the peloton. But it's never going to happen right now. So you got to have Tadej Pogačar in the win, and you have to have him chasing. You cannot pull back the original brakes. Now, I want to go into Remco Evenepoel's comments where he said, of course, they rode offense all the way up until the time Tadej Pogačar attacked, and then they were on defense. Yes, you rode offense. He attacked you. Then you're on defense. You got no teammates left. It's explained to you as simple as it possibly can right there. You have to have teammates left around you or guys that can work with you. Do not pull him around. We go into what started all this again with Jonas Vingegaard's interview afterwards, and I have to bring this up because, guys, he got dropped like a rock. When he was looking at the camera, he was melted down. He was blown up, and the group was still 45 guys. And his interview afterwards, he says, well, he just doesn't understand. I mean, he had 2 weeks off the bike after the Vuelta, but he doesn't understand why his legs are bad here. So the Vuelta finished 3 weeks ago. He had 2 of those weeks off. He only had 1 week to get ready for the Euro Championships. You're not going to ride the last 2 days before the European Championships hard. So you had 3 or 4 good days training since the Vuelta finished, and you don't know why you got dropped here? Well, if we take you back to his first interview where he's talking about trying to find out why he can or how he can race these one-day races better, trying to find out the equation of what makes it work. I could tell you right now, 2 weeks off your bike does not make it work good if you're coming into the European Road Championships and battle against Tadej Pogačar and Remco Evenepoel, and that's why you got dropped by 45 riders, and you were shaking your head in disbelief. 2 weeks off? Okay, that's not the formula for sure. So if anyone else got any questions, make sure you watch, hit the like and subscribe button because you know I'm going to cover it up here on Beyond the Coverage real soon. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys for the next edition real soon.